watch it work for the first time ever. Because I said something. Come on, baby. Look, it did. Oh, of course.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. This week, we are every week, actually, we have been dropping a bonus episode where we're scouting the other team. As that, on Tuesday nights, live at 9 p.m., we got the long form show, and it gets crazy long. The calls, the arguments, all of that, the guests. So what I decided is each and every week we're going to be doing a scouting podcast. We're doing it this week, Scouting the Saints with Alan Ulrich from Under the Dome podcast. Sometimes we get so focused on our own teams, we forget to look out. And I'm bringing back my old homie, Alan Ulrich, host of Under the Dome. And you guys are coming off a bye. You got to be rested and excited to be hosting the Panthers, I would think.
I think so. How's it going tonight, Tony?
Great.
I'm. This is gonna be an interesting week. We've struggled, as you don't no doubt know, the first 5 weeks of the season. We had the Michael Thomas incident right before the Chargers game last Monday night.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I just heard he got in a fight with a teammate. What happened?
Okay, so the news on that Sunday before the Monday night game was that Michael Thomas was going to be suspended, and then it was suspended because of a fight. But it wasn't just a fight. He got into a verbal altercation with coaches. Well, then we find out after the game that it was Sean Payton he got into a verbal altercation with. So this is kind of dribbling out little bit by little bit. People were panicking because they're thinking we just paid him all this money and now he's fighting with the coaches. Is this going to be another Jimmy Graham, Junior Gillette kind of situation? We're going to screw ourselves with the salary cap and everything else. And Thomas's tweets on Twitter kind of made you feel like he wasn't taking responsibility for any of this stuff. They're trying to make him out to be some kind of bad guy. But basically, the news today was the suspension is over with. He pulled a hamstring, but he should be good to go. But it's weird. It's just one more weird thing of 2020 we have to deal with.
The Panthers played the Bears last week, and there were some different things that came out of the game. But there's been a player on our team that has, I don't know, we've wanted to be good, but he has not been as good as we wanted him to be, and that's our outside linebacker, Shaq Thompson, right? And he's a number one draft pick. He was behind Luke Kuechly. He was behind Thomas Davis. Ultimately, you get two great. And you thought, oh, this is perfect. They extended him over the offseason. Our linebacker core has not been great anyway, so you need him to be good, and he has just been whelming. He's not been underwhelming or overwhelming.
I like that word.
It is. I mean, I'm telling you, he's been whelming. And so the only thing, my favorite part of the season for Shaq Thompson this past week, even though he didn't have a great game, is that him and Jimmy Graham were mouthing off to each other and he didn't back down. I was like, yeah, I said this on the podcast last night or the post game, is if this guy backs down from bitch ass Jimmy Graham, I'm done with him. All right. Sorry.
That's classic. That's
The old.
classic.
All right. I got to ask you this.
Mhm.
Which team has the invisible matchup this week? Joe Brady and Teddy Bridgewater's understanding of the Saints defense and the Saints team and organization, or does the Saints defense have an advantage because they understand the Saints offense, which is ultimately what Joe Brady and Teddy Bridgewater are?
I I'll
That's
say this.
that's a good question, man. You know that's a
That
good
is
question. I
that is a good
spent a little
question.
while on that one, man.
That is a very good question. Right now, the Saints secondary is the cure for any struggling offense because
What?
if they're not guarding you, they are committing pass interference. So
That's true. You guys
it,
do get a pass interference like every other play.
it's unbelievable. I'm that is probably the most frustrating part of this season so far. You have
Is your defense?
two, yes,
I was
you
that's
have,
that's a little bit down on my question list, but
yeah. No, well,
they're
I'm
supposed to be
gonna.
good. I started to believe in the Saints defense, and they've been inconsistent.
Well, here we go. So you've got two good corners. You've got Marshawn Lattimore on the one hand, and you've got Janoris Jenkins on the other. We brought in Malcolm Jenkins, who was our former number one pick back in 2009. He wins a Super Bowl with us, wins a Super Bowl with Philadelphia, has an all pro kind of career at Philadelphia. We bring him back to straighten out our defensive coverages and make sure we have good communication. Our communication in the defensive secondary now is worse than it was in 2014 to 2016 when we were going through all those 7 and 9 seasons. So it's maddening. It seems like Marshawn Lattimore only cares about defending somebody. If it's a Mike Evans, a Julio Jones, an OBJ, somebody with a reputation for making defensive secondaries look bad. If it's just, and I'm going to throw out Panthers receivers, but it's just a Curtis Samuel or DJ Moore, it's like he loses interest and it makes it easy to beat them. So to answer your question, yes, they should know this offense that you guys are running like the back of their hands. But when they show up on the field, especially the secondary, it looks like they've never seen an NFL game in their lives. And they're like, oh, what's this? We can't go and grab somebody? Am I supposed to cover him? It's maddening. It is maddening.
Wow. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, that's a lot because we're going to have to delve into that because I didn't expect, usually people talk glowingly, but I can understand why you've been upset. And I'm telling you, I've been looking at the up and down struggles. I've been trying to pinpoint it. From afar, the easy answer is to say Breeze's arm is a noodle, which is partially true. It's partially true, but I do think the defense has been a big part of the disappointment this year. And I'm glad you said that secondary because they're supposed to be shut down right now. That's supposed to be a strength of the team, not the weakest part. It should be covering up ultimately for Breeze's noodle arm on the other side, where you don't have to get into shootouts and you don't have to try to come back. Anyway, we'll get back to that. Thoughts on Teddy Bridgewater? Teddy Bridgewater, starter for, drafted, I think, it's around 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And goes to the Vikings, has the horrible leg injury, then backup quarterback, I believe, for the Jets to the Saints, with the Saints for 2 years maybe, and actually played a little bit last year. So now the Panthers go out and extend a 3-year deal to him. He's a controversial subject. Let's just go ahead and tell you this. Is Teddy Bridgewater, and it has nothing to do with him ultimately, is the Panthers chose him over Cam Newton. And that has been a hard thing for our fan base and myself and this podcast to that's added to the Teddy Bridgewater equation, right? And that's not his fault.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on Teddy before I talk about him?
Well, the funny thing is, you mentioned Drew Brees' noodle arm. I have never heard of the yards in the air, a ball traveling as a stat until this season. And I think this game between Teddy and Drew, that's where this stat is going to be rattled around and brought up so much because both guys throw, the dink and dunk kind of offense, which is the traditional West Coast offensive style. You use a short pass as an extension of the running game. So, here you've got some people saying that they missed Teddy, they want Teddy back. But at the same time, they're also well aware that Teddy, when he was here, did the same kind of thing. He would occasionally let it go deep, but his passes were all short 5-7 yard passes where the ball is maybe in the air 5 or 6 yards, and that's about it. It's a high percentage safe throw, and it makes for boring football, but it works. Both of us are 3-2, I believe. So, it's a winning formula, but it's very underwhelming as far as when you look at a Patrick Mahomes offense or, the kid we just played from the Chargers.
What about
Justin
a Drew
Herbert.
Brees offense from 9 years ago?
Yeah, that too. You go
Would
back
you
to,
say that Drew Brees, though, has always been like that? And it's always been like this? I don't believe that.
no?
Teddy's 26. Drew Brees, it looks like he's got cancer. No, I'm that's so terrible to say. But he doesn't like he looks older very quick all of a sudden.
Yeah,
In his face. So tell me this: has it always been like this for Drew Brees?
It's two things. I think when you mentioned the offense from 9 years ago, 2011, you had much more of a vertical attack. You had a Jimmy Graham. You had a Darren Sproles. You had Devery Henderson, Robert Meacham, Lance Moore, guys who stretched the field. You don't have that with this offense. Michael Thomas is a possession receiver, and he hasn't even been on the team. You've got a 33-year-old Emmanuel Sanders, who is crafty enough and quick enough to get open, but he's not the guy that's going to take it over the top. You don't have that vertical offense. You've got a horizontal offense where it's all about yards after the catch. He's going to hit Alvin Kamara in the flat and let Kamara beat people in space, and I think that's what you're seeing Joe Brady do with Teddy Bridgewater as well. So as a result, given Brees' age at 41, people think that he just doesn't have the arm strength to push it out there anymore.
Do you think he can? Even if, say we gave you Robbie Anderson. Or say we gave you Teddy Bridgewater back. Not Teddy Bridgewater. Ted Ginn.
Ted Ginn
is who I was thinking. Think Ted Ginn 3 years ago. So here's the reason I'm leading you. I'm leading you, hopefully, to an answer. And the whole point is this: is Drew Brees is old. I get it. His arm's wearing down. Our problem with Teddy Bridgewater, and it's not that we don't like him. It's not that we don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have what we see as the ability to beat you over the top. You're talking about a team that doesn't have weapons to beat you over the top. In theory, we should be. We've got DJ Moore, we've got Curtis Samuel, and we got Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson comes to damn Panthers and becomes a possession receiver, and he's been great at it. And I'm not trying to take away any, saying that that's not been helpful to our team. But in some ways, we wonder this. Is you're saying you don't have the receivers to go over the top. We want to know why we have the receivers and we can't go over the top. And we just have resulted to this, is that Teddy Bridgewater protects the football, moves the ball. It moves the ball. It's underwhelming, but it's going to get the job done. The problem is when you're behind, that's tough. And the NFL doesn't always work in your favor. You're not always in front.
No. And, You're saying all the things I said when Teddy was on this team. Um, when we won those 5 games with Teddy, if you watch those games and break them down, the defense was playing lights out. The special teams was giving him unbelievable field position. We were winning the turnover battle, so we were getting
Right.
short fields. So all those things played in your favor, and you won 5 games with him. But he is not the quarterback who's going to push the ball down the field. He will always choose the high percentage throws, and that's just his nature. That's just the way he plays the game.
I we I agree with that. I agree with everything you say. And the question I mean it's not even a question. It's almost like a rhetorical question at this point because we've asked it so many times. And
Sure.
that is the reason he plays the game like that because he's conservative or because he can't play it the other way. And that's where we've been going nuts. Is that all right? So you go, oh man, we've been very happy to a certain degree. It makes it sound like we're just whiny bitches every time. We're just complaining about everything. But it's like, oh, well, he's under duress. That's good. He didn't turn it over. You threw it 4 yards. Like, oh, that's wonderful. But then there's been times where it's like he's got 7 seconds back there, and guess what he did? He threw it 3 feet. I mean, 3 freaking feet, 1 yard. It was just like, oh my god. So we've been pulling out all this tape, and it's being like, well, look at this one good throw. It just doesn't. I don't feel like he can push it down the field.
He has the ability, but he chooses not to do it. That's the best explanation I can give you. Because we said you're sounding just like the Saints in 2019 last season. This is what Saints fans were saying. You had the Teddy defenders saying, "Look, he's taking care of the ball. He's not going to make mistakes. It's going to cost you the game. He's putting the ball in the hands of his playmakers." And then we're playing tape back going, look at this wide open receiver here. Look at this wide open receiver here. Throw the damn ball.
Oh, gosh.
Breeze traditionally reads it deep to shallow, and Teddy goes shallow to deep. And if it's not perfect, if the guy's not wide open like college football, he is not going to put the ball deep like that.
Because he can't get it there, man. When he throws the deep ball, it's got to touch the moon. You know what I'm saying? He's got and I mean, I'm not trying to say I could go out there and do it better, folks. Like, that's not the point. It's just when you see some other guys throwing. I feel like this is that Rodgers reads deep to shallow.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, sure does.
I mean, it's like, oh, we got a flag, chunk, So anyway, all right, let me ask you this. You've kind of already answered some of it, but I wrote it down, so I got to ask. Why are the Saints not better?
I honestly blame it on the lack of training camp and OTAs and all those things. Granted, Breeze has been running this offense for 15 years, but he is a creature of habit. In other words, he is the kind of guy who needs to get those reps in. Even if, you've heard the stories, and 2006 in the bye week, he was out there in the practice field and practiced for 3 hours throwing the ball to no one. He is just going through the motions, the repetitions, and that's the kind of player he is. So him not getting that work, and these first 4 games of the season ended up being kind of like his preseason. I think that's where the rustiness is really showing on Drew, especially the long time it took, because it took till the Detroit game. Well, now it's 3 weeks ago, but the Detroit game back in week 4 before he started looking comfortable throwing to his receivers with the accuracy and touch that we're used to seeing. And I think that has been the first thing. The second thing, injury to Michael Thomas. There's a reason why that guy caught 141 passes. Breeze trusts him over these other
Imagine
receivers
how
who's
many passes he would catch with Teddy Bridgewater. Like
he would catch.
400.
Yeah, he would. He would because Breeze knows that, and Bridgewater would know that Thomas is going to get open. You feel confident letting that ball go because he's going to figure out a way to position his body to get that ball or to keep it from getting intercepted. So I think those two things have really played a role in the slow start of the offense. Now, they have been scoring about 30 points a game, but it's been almost in a shootout fashion.
It's been weird every time, right? So
Yeah.
in the beginning, and I'm gonna follow this up with another question, but the defense scored against the Bucks a little bit. That helped you guys, but then in that was it the Vikings game? What was the game where you guys went and Latavius Murray had like 5 touchdowns?
Oh,
was that the Vikings?
Not this year. Haven't had it this year.
Was it?
That was
Kamara's
got all touchdowns. So
no, they went somewhere and they were down early against. They should have been favored. What'd you get? Did you guys play the Vikings this year?
Not yet. We play them at the end of the season. We play.
Murray had a couple of touchdowns
we played
against
the
somebody.
Bucks. Just played the Raiders. Yeah, the Raiders. We looked like crap. We couldn't cover a tight end.
Who was next after the Raiders?
Then came the Packers, and that was
it was
game.
The Packers game, I think. Did Murray get what? Did you guys win against the Packers?
No, we lost. Taysom Hill fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
And that is the other issue that's going on with this offense.
And that's schedule pulled up too. Why am I looking at it?
Detroit was next. We started out down 14-0.
That was I think that's the game I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and we scored 5 touchdowns the next 5 possessions.
Yeah, so you started down, and it looked like, oh my God, the Saints are terrible.
Yeah,
and you got to wonder too: is that comeback really suggestive? Like, what is it? Is it recovering up your terribleness? Is it showing greatness? There's some interesting things there. But I want to go back to one question about this. As you said that not having a preseason is got COVID requirements, this type of thing. As you see the Bucks seemingly hit stride this past week.
Yeah.
Is there anything? What are your thoughts on that? It's a different team, I know, but I mean, Tom Brady not looking good at the beginning. The defense gets a touchdown though, and all of a sudden they're ignited. Are they maybe starting to get past that for the no preseason window themselves?
Well, we should have beaten Green Bay. And that was the game that Taysom Hill fumbled, and our secondary couldn't cover anybody.
I hate that dude.
Yeah, and we stop them. The next possession, we get the ball, we start driving, and Sean Payton put Taysom Hill in place of Drew Brees, and this is a sore spot for a lot of fans right now.
Yeah, I watched it and I laughed. I laughed so hard at you. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I hate to be a dick, but I laughed.
Well, Taysom Hill is one of those things that it's a fantastic play when it works. When it doesn't work, it's a disaster. And that's
when it's a disaster, it's a disaster.
He fumbled the ball, and Green Bay got the ball back in our territory, went ahead and scored a touchdown, and put the game out of reach. We lost by 10. The issue right now, at least that people are seeing, and I've kind of lost track of the question you asked me.
Tampa Bay, is Tampa Bay back? Is Tampa Bay? Right. If the window is hitting you guys, if the no preseason window hits you guys, is Tampa Bay getting past it?
Well, and that's why I was mentioning the Green Bay game. We had Green Bay on the ropes. I think Green Bay's weakness against stopping the run was evident in the Tampa game and evident against us. Because, like you said, Latavius Murray was going crazy. And Alvin Kamara, I think, scored 3 touchdowns that night. So, they were moving the ball at will when we ran the ball. So I'm looking at Tampa thinking that they just figured out Green Bay early enough to bury Aaron Rodgers. I'm curious to see what happens as the season goes on, because that was one of the few games that Tom Brady didn't throw a pick six. Brady's been throwing a lot of pick
That's
sixes.
messed up. He said
It
that's
is.
one of the few games he hasn't thrown. Well, first
think
of all, he paid six, but he has thrown like 3 this year. He threw one
Yeah,
against
and
you. I mean, I've seen it.
yeah,
It's all been the same damn route.
yeah,
That
it's the
kind of
out route.
out route, and you're like, you ain't Cam Newton, bro. You can't throw that no more.
Right, right, and that's one of the core plays of Arians' offense. So my prediction, the most interceptions he ever threw in a season, I think, was 12 in his entire career. And last year he threw 8. And I predicted before the season goes, he's going to throw 16 in Arians' offense
He might throw
because
8 pick sixes this year.
exactly Arians is going to, no risk it, no biscuit. Arians is going to put that ball up in the air when he thinks he can get that matchup. And Brady being older than Drew, no one talks about his noodle arm, but
Because
Brady
it's
has
not as noodle-ish. It's not
yeah,
it's not even close to as noodle-ish.
but
Breeze's
Brady
arm
let
looks
that ball float.
suspect right now, homie.
Yeah.
From the outside, I'm not saying I know what's up. It just doesn't look
No.
the same. Like it's like he can't do what his brain wants to do.
He double clutches and he thinks about that deep ball. He's always been short. It's the fact that he's short has a lot to do with it.
No,
He
it's
has
just because he's 42 years old or whatever, dude.
well,
That's
but,
what has
but
to do with it. You weren't saying that 7 years ago.
no, because
I mean, you were saying he was short, but
yeah, but 7 years ago you had Jari Evans and Carl
yeah, but
Nicks
you
as your
could have
guard.
Randy Moss running down there. He ain't gonna be able to get it to him.
But being short, he's got to be able to take a very deep drop to see the guys downfield, and then having those 2 guards where he could slide up in the pocket and just really launch it, because he's always had that weak arm, even going back to his Purdue days, but he could really launch it then, and he doesn't do that anymore. And, it's so many things working against him. And yes, time does take a toll on him. And yes, if you're not blessed with a strong arm to begin with, you are going to have trouble throwing the deep ball again. But what I was saying with Brady was Brady doesn't have the height limitations and stuff. It's just when he goes to throw that deep out, it's just going to hang in the air just long enough for somebody to jump on that ball. It doesn't come out like it would from a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
I just
It
don't
doesn't
think
have that.
it
Doesn't
comes
come
out any
smoking.
slower than Breeze's. That's my point
No,
right now.
no,
I think if
I
I was
agree with
going to
that.
look at one person, I would say this is I think Brady's. I mean, just arm. Maybe it's height. Maybe it's leverage. Who knows why? I think it's got a little bit more zip here. Good question here from my boy Tin Tizzy. He said, "Ask about Kyler being short and slinging it." And Kyler Murray is so short, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is that if maybe Drew Brees was he broke the ceiling for short people in the NFL, because Kyler Murray is the shortest. But in some ways, that affects his game. We had a Cardinals guest on a few weeks ago, and he was saying because he can't see over the pocket well, he tends to kind of drift outside and throw, so he can see around him. So
exactly. You got to find a passing window somehow to be able to see the guys downfield. Look at Russell Wilson. That's probably my candidate right now for NFL MVP this year, and he's short, but he can launch that ball too.
Dude, he's the best. Two guys, I hate that dude, but he's the best in the NFL.
He is, and those 2 guys have much better arms than Drew, and they're younger than Drew. So if you're blessed with a stronger arm and you're younger, of course you're going to be able to make those throws better than Drew can, especially at 41 years old.
Is this Drew's last year?
I believe so. I mean, he's already got the contract. Yeah, he's already got the contract locked up to take over Sunday Night Football from, I guess, Chris Collinsworth.
Uh,
So that's probably a blessing.
I'd rather have Chris Collinsworth all day long over damn Drew Brees.
Well, I don't know how he's going to do on as a analyst. I don't know if he's going to be more Tony Romo or if he's going to be more of a.
He is not going to be Tony Romo. He had it like he didn't know black music existed a couple of weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what? Well, I mean, it's a couple months ago. What? I mean, I don't even remember the story, but that's just the way I remember it. Is Drew Brees lives in New Orleans, helps all the people, but doesn't know that rap music exists. What a dumbass! All right, how about this? What do you think about signing Kamara to the big time deal?
I think he's proven his worth this year. I mean, he is the Saints
and he did that after he got the money, homie.
Yeah,
that's a big deal, isn't it? Is that not?
That is, especially because they were all. You actually had fans saying, "No, you don't pay that guy. He wants McCaffrey kind of money. He shouldn't get that kind of money."
What was his deal? Can you what was it?
I think it's 5 years, $12 million a year or $14 million a year, which is I think McCaffrey's 16, and Kamara's like right below it. It's either 14 or 16 million a year. But it was a lot of money. The most money they ever paid a running back. And there were a lot of people who were worried that we were going to pay a lot of money to him and not have any money left for anything else. But he's proven his worth. I mean, that's going to be your guy to stop this week. Because if you can handle Kamara in the passing game and the running game, that's your best chance of winning.
The reason I asked you about that is because the Panthers extended Christian McCaffrey over the past offseason. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a lot of people have wondered why the extension came. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it should come, but then you're jettisoning Cam. And it's kind of like, oh, we're going to sign the one face that we know. That was also helpful. You know what I'm saying? It was helpful for us to latch on to a player that we didn't know anybody else during. And Christian McCaffrey is so multiple and dynamic. But the argument, and look, I'm a closet Kamara fan like crazy because I drafted him in a dynasty fantasy league in the 14th round, bro, and we get to keep these players for 5. I get to keep him through. This is the last year I get to keep him, and it's just been it's been so awesome, and it's especially this year where it's a tough fantasy league. Anyway, so I'm a closet Kamara fan. But here the argument that comes with Panther fans, and I think it's a legitimate one from the detractors, is that look, as Christian McCaffrey's been out, we get this Mike Davis dude. And by the way, I was listening to some different Saints podcasts prepping for tonight, and some people are acting like Mike Davis is a fool on y'all, and it's not on y'all's show. Like, I was bouncing around a bunch of radio and some different things. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wait a second. These cats don't watch the Panthers at all. I understand. You watch your own team only. No problem. Mike Davis, though, has been beating ass, homie. He has been a sledgehammer, and he did get a little nick. You know what I'm saying? He got a flat tire last week with ankle or something like that. But my point is that when Mike Davis comes in, he's this guy that you picked up off the street who's earning his weight, though. People start to say, man, is it wise to build your salary cap around a running back like Christian McCaffrey? That's kind of why I ask you with the Kamara. Kamara is dynamic, just like Christian McCaffrey. You think it's okay going forward with the question mark surrounding Drew Brees?
Yes, because you've got keep reminding me, he's a 41-year-old quarterback. This will probably be his last season. Yeah, it's probably be his last season. you you need a weapon on your offense. The Panthers are in a position where they're rebuilding this team, and it's going to be a completely different looking team 3 years from now. Although Christian McCaffrey is going to be the core of that offense, I would not be surprised to see a new quarterback, new offensive lineman, new tight
Right.
end,
Yeah. No,
all
we
those
need
things.
all of it.
Yeah. So,
And you have
you
Christian
want a lot.
McCaffrey for 1 or 2 years at that point, and it's the back end, and it's like,
Right.
thank you for your service.
Exactly. Exactly. So you need someone to keep you competitive. I think the Saints are entering after this season will be entering that transition period where you're going to need a face of the offense, and like it or not, Alvin Kamara is going to be the face of your offense for right now because whoever your quarterback is post Drew Brees, whether it's Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, just start throwing names out there. If the Jets jettison Sam Darnold, if the Saints draft a quarterback, like the name I keep hearing is the North Dakota quarterback, North Dakota State
Oh,
quarterback.
I don't want to hear none of that shit.
I know, but
The
yeah, but
Trask, and this and that. I mean,
yeah,
I know it's not you. I keep hearing it too, and I keep going. Is North Dakota State with Wentz and this like the quarter? What is it where they say is it
right,
DBU? Is it what
right,
is who's defensive back or right? It's like
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
believe that shit at all.
I don't. I'm not that person either because college football, as you no doubt saw, and look at how Joe Burrow's doing over there in Cincinnati. College football and pro football are light years apart as far as for the quarterback, how long it takes to develop. And you mess up on the draft, drafting the wrong guy at quarterback, you set your franchise back 5 years easily because if you just look at the Washington Redskins, for example, they bring in guys left and right. And I'm sorry, Washington football team. I'm still calling it the old name,
It's
but yeah,
okay. Yeah, I still
yeah,
sit Indian style. Actually, I never
they,
sit Indian style because I have bad knees. But that's what I
but
call
yeah,
it.
but in the Jets too, another one. You just look at these teams over and over and over again who get bad quarterbacks in the draft, and how much they set their team back. So you want to find a guy who can at least be, and this is the good news with Teddy Bridgewater, can at least be a caretaker for your offense, not make the mistakes, keep you competitive while you sit there and search for the franchise guy you're going to put in that spot, and boom, you're set for the next 10 years. Um, so,
If you got to throw a deep pass, are you guys bringing in Jameis Winston?
no, no.
Would you be
You'll see
better with Jameis Winston?
only if I want to risk an interception or a turnover. I don't trust Jameis Winston at all.
He got
And
LASIK, homie. He can see.
it's not the eyes I worry about; it's the decision-making process.
He couldn't see anything. He was just throwing to blobs down the field before. He had LASIK. He was nearsighted.
Yeah, I know, but
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm like, what? How are you? That's crazy.
but
And look, and the only reason it makes me laugh is because my son is nearsighted, and we didn't know until he was like 7 because he could read fine. He would be like reading these books like nobody's business, and I'd be like, oh man, my man's eyes are just fine. Nope. You know what the hard part? Catching a fly ball.
Really?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because nearsighted, you can't see far away. It's strange. But you
Well-
can't see far away. But you don't know you're nearsighted until you know. You've lived that way your whole life. My son didn't realize he didn't have good eyesight. He was just like, oh, this is just a word. I can't see the sign yet. I can't see the stop sign yet.
Well,
Jameis Winston might be the greatest quarterback ever now because he can see downfield. He can see which receiver's jersey is which now.
No, you would think you'd at least be able to tell the colors apart. He's not colorblind, though. I mean,
it just looked like blobs. It just looked like blurriness down there. He was just throwing into blurs, bro.
Oh man,
How did he
my
do
youngest.
it?
I don't know. My youngest daughter has I think she's nearsighted as well. Her best basketball game, ironically, was the day she didn't wear her glasses in the game at all. I said, "How did you make all these baskets?" She said, "Just threw the orange blob at the other
At the
orange blob up in the air, and it made it in." So it was one of those kind of things. But I don't know. I don't know. Winston's got a 1-year deal. A lot of Saints fans want him to be the future quarterback. We'll see. That's the other bad part about not having him preseason. We haven't seen what he would look like running this offense, and that's why I always say I don't know who the quarterback of the future is going to be. I really don't know. So right now, signing a guy like Kamara, signing Michael Thomas, getting those pieces together, your offensive line and so forth, getting all that together. So if you got to have a caretaker in there to replace Breeze, you at least have a lot of talent around him. And that's I think is the step the Saints are preparing this year. I don't believe this year's Super Bowl bust anymore. I think they'll probably, with the extended playoff format, I think they got a really good shot of getting back to the playoffs. I think they're going to be very competitive with winning the division for 4th time, which no one in our division has ever done. You guys won it 3 times. We've won it 3 times, but no one's ever done it 4 times in a row. And with Atlanta being, a tire fire over there, even Raheem Morris.
It's so awesome.
Over. Yeah.
It's so great. It's like the best thing. It's like when you start almost feeling bad for them, that's like crazy. And that's how good it is. I saw.
The Dallas game, I thought I'd seen it all, but the
Bears game was even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you let it happen again? Yeah.
Gosh, it's like you could be up by 100 and still lose. I don't know how you do it.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way.
Awesome. All right. What's the injuries with your team, real quick?
Okay. The first injury report came out today. A lot of the guys who were injured past couple of weeks, Norris Jenkins, Dante Harris, kick returner, those guys all practiced in full, but a left tackle, Teron Armstead, was out with a hand injury. One of our backup guards was out, although he's been starting a lot, Nick Easton. I mentioned Michael Thomas's hamstring injury. So far, nothing looks like that anyone's going to be out yet. But there's still a couple of nicks for some key starters. How about you guys? What's y'all's injury report look like?
Oh, okay. So we suck. That's the worst thing you could ever bring up with us right now. Number one is that, we actually had a COVID scare. Somehow is that nobody is tested or not. I won't say nobody. That's not true. Some mythical person that has interacted with 3 or 4 people on the team tested positive. So we have these players who have not tested positive, but through contact tracing have to be put on the COVID list, I guess.
Yeah.
One of those being our damn field goal kicker, which is the craziest thing. Like, I mean, Joey Slye has not been the greatest field goal kicker in the history of the world, but it's already hard enough when you got your guy. I don't know what they're going to do there. Christian McCaffrey's still out. There's an offensive lineman, 2 offensive linemen that have also been COVID through contact tracing, benched. Curtis Samuel has been out with a knee, so we'll be looking to see if he's back. Dante Jackson has had problems with an ankle and a toe every game. Even when he plays, he comes out every other play, and it's been a mess. So Dante Jackson, who is 5'10", he's actually probably the least important corner against you this week because you guys can't throw past 10 yards either. But he's we got Rasul Douglas on the outside, which is cool. He's actually been fantastic for picking him up off the streets from, the Philadelphia Eagles streets. So the injuries have been problematic for the Carolina Panthers. I'm trying to think, are there any other big ones? We lost KK Short for the season 2 weeks ago. So yeah, is the Panthers have been dealing with a lot of injuries, but they've been getting through them too. They have been cycling the next dude a lot. They have. Oh, here's the one to watch this week. I will tell you this.
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey was out, has been out, and it looks at this point why the Panthers know their limits this year. Like, I think we're all excited that they could win. We want them to win each week. It's great to see them competitive. It's great to see the coaching staff have a team that doesn't look like a shit fire, right? So we're all like, I'm not rooting for them to be bad, but there are limitations just based on the circumstances. Christian McCaffrey, I don't think they're trying to ultimately rush Christian McCaffrey back, right? Is why would you? Is that, yes, do you want great players? Do you want this? But you don't want to bring him back too early. Mike Davis, this guy has been a juggernaut, dude. Pound for pound, like better, like as good as, who was the running back who went from Michael Turner? That's who he reminds me of, is Michael Turner a little bit. I mean, he just bludgeons people to death. He came out of the game. He's going to play. I bet you he plays. But he's dealing with some sort of calf or ankle, and you could tell it hindered him a little bit in his gameplay. And when he wasn't able to go out every play, the Panthers were not good. So, depending upon Mike Davis, like if you watch the game this week and Mike Davis looks like, damn, who was the guy the sledgehammer? It's like an old folklore. John Henry. If Mike Davis is John Henry and you in the first quarter, you in trouble. If he ain't,
well, we got.
You know what I'm saying? And like I won't say you're in trouble, but that's the thing to watch is if he's doing that, if he is sledgehammering, okay, we got a pretty good. Now I won't say a good chance, but that's a good sign. That's the injury to watch. If he's not effective, I think there's an injury behind the scenes that are also limiting him a bit.
Well, we've got that streak of 48 consecutive games not giving up a 100-yard rusher. That doesn't mean we haven't given up 100 yards rushing, just not one
just to
player.
One person.
Yeah. And we have struggled more with running backs who can take it to the outside, get out on the flanks, and turn it upfield, running along the sideline. If your guy is a between the tackles runner, he's going to have trouble because they're very good at taking away that inside running game. You might get a couple of plays where you get some good yardage, or they catch you in the wrong defense or whatever, but they've been good about getting to the running back early and making the quarterback beat you. The problem is some quarterbacks are able to beat us, like an Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, that's.
Well, he didn't beat this whoever the Tampa last week. So, how about this? Is the Saints are last thing? Let's finish this up. Saints, minus 7.5 favorites. Wow, big time right there. 51 over under. What are your thoughts about the line here?
I think that's way too many points. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. Honestly.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's going to be a lot of. If the Panthers start out hot early, it's going to be a back and forth kind of game. If the Saints jump out early on them, then I think the Saints can roll the Panthers. But that hasn't been on the way we played this season. We have allowed teams to score on us first, and we're constantly playing catch up all game. And it's taken us at least until about halftime, maybe into the third quarter, to really start looking like the Saints should look. So that, to me, the first quarter.
Could this be a low-scoring game?
I don't see why it wouldn't be sometimes, because my attitude about you guys is if we can limit you guys to drives that you have to settle for field goals, we should win that kind of game. Because I don't.
Those are the games we've lost, by the way. Every game we've lost, we've just kicked field goals.
Right, and that's I think that's the formula for success. Our defense will bend, don't break, don't give up a lot of scores in the red zone. The problem is our defense has been terrible in the red zone.
Oh,
So,
don't worry. We've been worse in the red zone
yeah,
on offense.
yeah.
So good news there.
Yeah, so it's the movable object meeting the resistible force in this case. So we'll see what breaks. Like you had your whelming. That's my thing.
That's
It,
interesting.
so that's going to be the key in this game. If the Saints come out hot, start jumping on them early, and then forcing Teddy Bridgewater to beat you with his arm by pushing the ball downfield, then the Saints have a great chance. If Davis can start running the ball effectively and Bridgewater can use the play action, he can run out of the pocket and do his little things and score in the red zone, then it's going to be a tough game for us. That's just how I see it.
Who wins?
I'm going to go with the Saints just because they're my team. I think we need this game because the position we're trying to stay in, keeping up with Tampa Bay, versus where you guys are, where you're in the first year, new coach.
We are 3-3 though. We're right there.
Yeah, no, you're right there, and I think you guys are getting a lot of success early, but I don't think your guys aren't really. If you get to the playoffs, great. But if you don't get to the playoffs, it's not the end of the world. You're like, hey, we didn't have some Christian McCaffrey. We're rebuilding first year.
I agree.
Our expectations are a lot higher. So that's why I think they need this game. I think you guys get the game at the end of the year. I think that's the game y'all.
I don't know if we get either, but I would say this: I'm picking the Saints for one reason, and one, I mean, I want to pick the Panthers every week, obviously, but Bears coming off of a Thursday night game with additional days of rest, Saints with the bye week, Panthers having this COVID protocol stuff that is interrupting things, as well as the litany of injuries. This could be I think this could be a difficult 3-week stretch for the Panthers, Bears, Saints, and then next, who was it next? Is it like the Chiefs or something?
Oh God!
It's just like awful. But we're coming off a Thursday night, and it's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going into it. It's just awful. So I'm picking the Saints based on that, and actually, I probably would even take the points because, I don't know if I hope it's close, but I think those factors are weighing in the favor of the Saints. Anyway, all right, Alan Ulrich, tell them where they can find your work at, my man.
Okay, man. Y'all can find us on Facebook and Under the Dome. I'm me on Twitter. It's my name, but at 79 Saints on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube, Under the Dome podcast. We're on every Tuesday night, 8:00 Central Time. So
same time we're competing podcasts. Don't worry.
Yes, but
it's not like we're competing for the same audience.
Right. That's why the best part about YouTube, you go back and see what we did last night. We're 8:00 on Tuesday nights, though. So that's probably the best way to find us. I do a good, bad, and ugly on Facebook immediately after the game. If I take too long. It's
always very thorough. You should check it out, folks. If you want to watch a Saints fan whine, if I take too long and cry.
Yes. It'll be in the Under the Dome podcast Facebook page. But yeah, if I take too long to put this good, bad, and ugly up, I'm getting text messages from friends like, "Where is it? We want to read this."
I know. It's wonderful. I read it a lot.
I put a lot of humor in it. So, even though if you don't like the Saints, it still should be funny. I try and make jokes. I got jokes.
I got jokes. All right. Check out Alan Ulrich, Under the Dome podcast. Thank you for your time tonight. Don't forget, C3 Panthers podcast here live, 9 p.m. Tuesday nights, Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday, we put up Picking with the Professor, as well as this show right here, Scouting the Opponent. The name changes each week. It doesn't have a cool name yet. And we got the post-game show. Don't forget the number is 228-5098. Don't be a schmuck and smack that thumbs up button. Tell somebody that's a fan about either one of these teams about this show. And until then, keep pounding.
Thanks so much for having me.